Hi there, it's Paul back again. Right, basically, let me turn the music down again, it's always the case, isn't it? Right, yeah, basically, I did a video before, some of you might have seen it, so I had some quite good feedback from it and stuff, had some good messages, and I thought maybe do another video. Basically, obviously, you know, it's all kind of, the media's moved away from Tottenham now, etc., and it's not so hot topic on Twitter anymore and stuff like that, and all the media's packed up and things. So for me, it's kind of the calm after the storm now, and it's not so much of what do we do about this situation now, but where do we go from here. So I mean, I watched Question Time last night, which is quite interesting, and they had some well, it was a very good debate. I do recommend, if you've got time, it's on iPlayer or whatever, get on there and watch it. It's very interesting. Especially, well, for me, a couple of the things that John Prescott said, but hey, that's biased, isn't it, really? Anyway, like I said, I think we've all got a lot of questions to ask, not just of ourselves, about what we do as a society, but of the people who are supposedly leading us. Politicians, the bankers, for example. You know, it's our world, and we deserve to shape it as well. I got asked a question earlier on Facebook, which is what this video is going to be about, basically. But it's from a friend, and he was saying, well, I'll read it to you. This is what he says. He says, I've only got to the first question. He was watching Question Time, basically, but I'm puzzled. The police charge peaceful demonstrations and beat unarmed people to a pulp, but then there are 500 or so people destroying anything they can get their hands on, and the police do nothing. He asks, I just find that strange. So in response to that, basically, I've tried to kind of break it down into points and try and possibly explain what I think from a police perspective is why there was such a failure on their part to actually, you know, practically do anything on the ground. So anyway, I've written this piece, and I've released it on Facebook and stuff. So if you want to check out my Facebook, it's on there as well. But yeah, I thought I'd still make the video of it as well to try and make these points a little bit more human, rather than just having someone read them. So excuse me, I'm just going to be looking over this way because I'm on this screen. So basically, question from a friend was, I've only got to the first question, but I'm puzzled. The police charge peaceful demonstrations and beat unarmed people to a pulp. When there are 500 or so people destroying anything they can get their hands on, they do nothing, and I just find that really strange. So I've said, for me, it's quite simple really. Basically, with any pre-planned demonstration, the police have time to plan for it, draw on resources, have their snitches on the ground telling them what's going on where, etc., and social networking helps them in this. The interesting thing to consider is that the police work on a hierarchical basis, always waiting for a message from above to say, move here, or attack, or retreat, or whatever. With the situations like these in London, quite simply the police, I think, were caught off guard. A large amount of the police in this area and across London were away on holiday or posted elsewhere to cover the ones that were away on holiday. Typically, demonstrations are predictable for the police to deal with. They are normally formed of big crowds which for one reason are able to be tracked, i.e. through helicopter, radio and obviously CCTV surveillance. Say for example we look back, you know, in this example, back in April, there was a protest where, as you possibly might remember, Tottenham Masons eventually got occupied by UK and Cup, and the Ritz got smashed, etc. Again, the police seemed to be outwitted, basically through the idea that there was not a large group specifically, but a formation of smaller groups all over London. Different causes working on different things. Some were the NHS, some were trying to close down Vodafone for not paying their taxes, which of course these are all crimes as well, which, you know, should be dealt with. Where was I? Sorry. Yeah, so basically, yeah, all these different things happening down Oxford Street. Simply, again, the police couldn't cope through lack of information, too many things happen at the same time, and like I already mentioned, the idea that the police have to wait for the hierarchy to send them orders. With protesters, etc., it often works on the basis of small group decision making or on the spot decision making. Again, this outwits the police, because the crowd could be going one way, and then at the last moment it can turn another. The police failed to act for a number of reasons. Here is a few off the top of my head. Number one, sheer lack of police numbers on the ground. Number two, lack of leadership at the top of the map. Obviously with, what's his face, Stevenson, Paul Stevenson, he's resigned or whatever, and you know, we smell corruption in the UK police force once again, not for the first time of course. Number three, social networking allowed people to be one step ahead, quite simply. Number four, the issue of them being in the spotlight already from previous demos, and also the recent killing of Mark Duggan. Now what I mean by that is, you know, the police, I think, to a certain extent as a group, were a little standoffish because of what, you know, happened at G20, for example, when Ian Tomlinson was killed. Now I was there that day. I had my wrist fractured. I was down at the climate camp at Bishopsgate, and it was completely peaceful all day. It was really fluffy, you know, stereotypical lentils and pedal-powered bicycle sound systems, and I remember Danny Shine from the Love Police being there, hugging the police officers and saying that, you know, we're all one and stuff like that. And it was all fluffy all day. And then I remember about 6 o'clock on that evening, we saw the police tooling up and getting the riot gear on and stuff. And then suddenly they all charged at us for no reason, and I ended up, we all had our hands in the air saying this is not a riot, and look, please don't hurt us. And I ended up getting battened in the wrist, hit twice in the elbow and once in the shoulder, and then once just here where I've got a scar actually. I don't know if you can, no, my hair's too thick, but I ended up getting battened there, and he kept hitting me until I was on the floor. Blood pissing out my head, and I just remember his eyes, you know, like through the balaclava and stuff. Anyway, I'm going well off the subject, but you know, we need to see justice in society is what I'm saying basically. But yeah, I mean, going back to number four, sorry I got distracted, the issue of them being in the spotlight already. So I think they were a little bit standoffish because of being worried that they, well, possibly might kill again or get the blame again, because obviously, you know, a lot of the time the police are in the middle of these situations, getting the blame from government, from the public, from their bosses, from the media, and I think they possibly were a little bit standoffish. Number five, the history of the area, i.e. PC Blakelock, who was killed back at the Blackwater Farm riots. Now I don't know, you know, maybe on a personal level, it's pretty scary I guess if you're out on the street, you know, and you're, not that I perhaps agree with it, but you know, they're doing their job, yeah, I think possibly a lot of them were, they had that in the back of their mind sort of thing. Anyway, number six, again, the police working on a hierarchical basis, having to wait for orders to come down, etc., and waiting for them to go back up, and then by the time that's happened, something else is kicked off down the road, for example. And then finally, the last one, number seven, so I'm told, the police on the ground were actually told to put public safety first before trying to apprehend looters. So, for example, you know, burning houses, cars, etc. But I've put at the end as well, and more, which I'm sure you can think of yourself anyway. I mean, there's probably a multitude and more than I've put there, you know, of reasons why things managed to go so horribly wrong. I mean, they're the practical things, but then again, like I've tried to say to people in my previous video, it's the root causes we need to be looking at. You know, the police on the street, they're just trying to retain the status quo and in some respects just keep order, you know, and I think they failed majorly, and I think they should be held to account for that, not just for Mark Duggan's death. The individual officers should be dealt with on that, but yeah, like for their just lack of consistency. I've been to protests and stuff where we had the shit beaten out of us, and then here they just seem to let things happen, and I don't know whether that's also got political underlying meanings to it as well, but there we go. Anyway, signing off again, maybe see you soon on a new video. Cheers.